Pratt. I'm with the Pratt Group. Obviously, it's my last name. I'm out here in the Coachella Valley. I actually asked Nazar and Christina not to speak today, and then I found out, hey, I'm speaking. So then I asked Nazar yesterday, hey, what should I actually talk about? So I am rushing right here from a photo shoot. We had a photo shoot out in Palm Springs, but what I'm going to talk about today is the unpopular online leads and how that has actually made my career. The reason I say unpopular is because I always hear agents say that they don't want to be a buyer's agent. And I always tell people you should look at an online lead like that is going to be a listing as well. I want to dive in a little bit about myself first, and then we will kind of jump into that. So I'm a single mom of 3. I've owned my own business since I was 18. I became a professional cosmetologist and makeup artist at 18 and opened my own hair salon. By 19, I became a mom, and by 20, I was a single mom. I got married again. I bought my first home when I was 25. Actually, my first commercial property when I was 25. So one day I was driving home and I called my twin and I said, hey, I actually hate my life. I hate my job. I hate everything about it. I'm going to quit my job. And the reason I jump into this a little bit is actually I'm not from the Coachella Valley. I'm not, I didn't know anyone here. We moved out here just to start a new life, give the kids more opportunity as well. So when I was telling somebody, hey, I'm actually going to become a real estate agent, he said, oh, great. Everyone's a real estate agent. You're going to fit right in. You're not going to make it. Along with my twin sister that said that as well. She goes, what are you doing? This is the most asinine thing I've ever heard in my life. You should quit right there. So I walked in, I started, going to school for real estate, got my real estate license in 3 months and thought, okay, I'm going to get into this. But then how are you going to get into it when you don't know anyone from the Coachella Valley? So immediately I joined a team. And when I joined this team, the team said, hey, by the way, you're going to buy your own leads. So I remembered when I was buying my house, the way I found my agent was realtor.com. So I immediately called realtor.com and said, hey, I need to buy some leads. I actually don't have that much money. I'm quitting my 6-figure job. I'm going to become a real estate agent. So I need some leads quick. So I started by realtor.com. They called. So my first lead comes in. And I look at the lead, and remember with realtor.com leads, you're competing with 3 different agents. That first lead came in, I panicked immediately. So I looked at the phone, I said, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? I shouldn't call this lead. So I let it go. Second lead comes in, I look at it again, and I think there's no way I can call this lead. Finally, the third lead comes in, I said, what am I so afraid of? Why am I not calling this lead? So I immediately picked up the phone and I answered, got a hold of this lead. And then that is when my career took off. Then I immediately in the first 4 months sold, I think it was 6 properties. And so then I had to quit my hairdressing job full time and go head over heels into this. So I kind of get off topic a little bit. It was New Year's Day at 4 a.m. I get a lead, and then immediately it's $1 million lead. I'm sitting there, I'm drinking coffee, and I'm thinking, what is this? $1 million lead is coming in at 4 a.m. I shouldn't call this lead. Everyone, why wouldn't we call a lead if it's coming in at 4 a.m.? Well, because it's 4 a.m. But if these people are inquiring about it, that is why we should be calling them. Do you think a car salesman doesn't call you the second that you inquire about a car? It's the first thing they do. So I called this lead at 4 a.m. on New Year's Day and said, hey, this is Brandi Pratt. And then I immediately hung up. And then I was like, oh, crap, I just hung up on this $1 million lead. So I was like, oh, my God, I'm missing out on this opportunity. I have to call this lead back. So I called the lead back and said, sorry, people are walking in. I immediately called the lead back and said, hey, this is Brandi Pratt with the Pratt Group. I'm so sorry we lost connection. I would love to help you find a home. And he goes, oh, I'm busy right now. I can't talk to you. I said, okay, what time should I call you back? So I immediately called him back at the time that he said, and then I found out not only am I dealing with this $1 million lead, I know no one in the desert, I don't know anything about it, I don't know anything about country clubs, and I'm handling this guy, and then I find out that I'm dealing with the top 3 agents in the Coachella Valley. So long story short, this lead actually has converted over $10 million since the second that I have spoke to him, and then also referring clients as well, probably about another 10 million from him as well. My biggest thing with online leads is calling them within the first 5 minutes of that lead coming in. If you're not calling them or texting them within 5 minutes, you are losing an opportunity. 78% of customers actually buy from the first person that responds. Sorry, I'm like, keep getting distracted here, Nazar. Sorry. So from that, I have learned, like I said, that you are not going to be a buyer's agent. From that one lead, you are going to convert it from a buy to a list, to a buy to a list to other friends. So calling them within the first 5 minutes. So what I do with an online lead is I call them immediately. Like I tell my team, you have to call them in the first 5 minutes. If you're not calling them in the first 5 minutes, please text them in the first 5 minutes. If you don't have time to respond to them in the first 5 minutes, then turn off your lead flow, because that is your first opportunity, is to contact them immediately. The second day, if they didn't answer that first day, the second day, I call them again, I text them, and then I email them. On the third day, I pick up the phone. If they haven't responded, I send them a video text. Hey, this is Brandi with the Pratt Group. Just calling to introduce myself. Wanted to see what time you had available to look at that property. If they don't answer on the fourth day, I call, text, email, and then I send another video text as well. It takes usually about 10 touches if it's a cold lead, but on Realtor.com, it was a warmer lead. On Zillow Flex, it's a warmer lead. Zillow Premier, it's a warmer lead. So it all depends on which lead you're digging into. Now we're dealing with Boomtown leads, so that's why we have a 10-day follow-up plan. Beyond that 10-day follow-up plan, we go into 30 days, we go into 6 months, and then we go into a year as well. Crap, sorry guys. I think the main thing about online leads is you have to think about the long-term game with them. And that's the most important, is thinking, like I said before, the buyer and the list side of the property. God, Nazar, I'm getting stumbled here. What else should I talk about? Sorry.
I have a question for you, Brandi.
Yeah.
When I know as a team lead, what are your requirements for, you mentioned in Boomtown that you have the longer term follow-up. What are your requirements for your agents as far as how many touches they have to do with those online leads? And is there anything specific that you're doing in those text messages or in those emails or those calls that you're sending out? Or is there any sort of like SOP that you do, the lead came in and then we're going to do X, Y, and Z?
Yeah, so lately I actually have changed the roles here in the office. And so every Friday they have to text me their calls, text, emails. And then also I'm tracking how many calls on the back end, text, emails, and how quickly they're doing that as well. Because Boomtown tells me a lot more about the vitals rather than Realtor.com. Zillow is going to be completely different too, because Zillow, you can listen to the conversation and see if they answered it. So for Boomtown, if they don't call, text, or email, and if they don't send me their numbers on Friday, then I immediately turn off those leads. We generate anywhere from 100 to 130 leads. And like Nazar said, we have 5 agents on the team. So that's how many leads we're generating just from Boomtown, and then other resources as well. But I'm really big on the online leads because I think it's well, Boomtown's a little bit of a colder lead, although we have closed a $9 million lead on Boomtown and a $5 million lead. But if they don't call, text, or email in the first day, then they immediately get turned off. And then also they have to have a smart drip plan set up for them for the long-term game on Boomtown.
And tell us more about that smart drip. Like, what does that entail? Is it just sending out, they're on a property search, or is it requiring them like every 2 weeks that they're reaching out with a phone call or a text message? Like, what is that follow-up?
Yeah, so I would definitely say that on the smart drip plan, they need to be, like I said, we need 10 touches in the first 10 days. And then we need to skip to 2 weeks in the first 3 months. And then beyond the 3 months, then we're skipping to a month and keeping track. So either an email, call, or text. And that's telling us in the to-dos what to do as well.
I want to jump in real quick.
Yep.
I just had Jesse Rodriguez or Jesse Bedoyan from Call Action at our office, and we're chatting for a couple hours. And and he's told me this before, but it like resonated again with me when it comes to online leads. He says, imagine if you go inside of a grocery store or any store for that matter, and a person immediately approaches you and says, oh, how can I help you? Our knee-jerk reaction in those instances is to say what? It's to say, no, thanks, I'm good, right? Because we don't want to be bothered. And that's not true. Like if you walk in any store, you have some level of intention of doing something, right? And then sometimes you have an exact intention, right? You want to buy a specific thing, but as soon as you go in that store and that person approaches you, you automatically are like, nope, not yet, not ready for you. Does that make me a bad lead? Does that make me not a client? Absolutely not. I just am not ready to transact or interact with you just yet, right? And so when we get these online leads, especially when they are top of funnel leads, they come in and we do the war call. We do the drips and the emails and the text messages and the phone calls, and you might get no response to any of that, right? And then most agents, what they do is they say, well, this is a garbage lead, and then they either trash it or they completely forget about it. And here's the thing, that's where I think automation comes into play. Like if you guys aren't using call action, you need to be starting to use call action, because it has a way for them to be able to revive those buyers, right? Revive those sellers that are coming through, because again, you need to be able to be there when they're ready, but not bug them until they're ready to actually want something from you. And that's what's really cool about Zillow and the Flex program, is that they've actually raised their hand saying, hey, I really want information right now. I want to see this house right now. But a percentage of Zillow leads or percentage of online leads are not ready to have any face-to-face or even a phone call conversation with any realtor, because they just want information, right? They just want to know if the house is available. They just want to know, whatever it is, right? What's a school zone that this is in, or some information that they themselves can't find online. And for us as agents, when we're connecting with them, like, don't be like this commission breath type of person. We're like, hey, how can I help you? You want to see this house? You want to see this house? Now that, again, that's going to work for some certain leads, but the higher level leads, or the upper funnel leads, like the Boomtowns and the Wylopos and Facebook leads and those types of leads, like very quickly you'll decide, because you want to reach out to them quickly, just like Brandi was saying, within 5 minutes. But past those 5 minutes, if they don't respond to you, like, your message needs to be so much different than, hey, do you want to see this house? Because the answer is clearly no, I don't want to yet, because I'm not ready. When we're buying a property, we are thinking sometimes up to a couple of years in advance, right? Like, I know this person that says, hey, Nazar, I want to sell my house, but only when my mom dies. And she's, I'm her caregiver. She lives in my little casita. And when she passes away, we're going to sell her home. Right? Is that a bad lead? It's not. No. What have I done to follow up with them? Nothing. I've done a shitty job of following with that lead. And I got the lead a year ago, and that person still hasn't passed away yet. Right? But like, what can I do? I can deliver messages to them. I can still drip on them with a message that's tailored to them to be able to help them, nurture them, be top of mind until they are ready to transact. And in that case, it's basically a conditional reason, right? They're waiting for something to happen. They're waiting to see if they get that job. They're waiting to see if if they're going to get a divorce or not. They're waiting to see, when their kids, like in some instances, oh, well, my kid has 2 more years of school left, and then she graduates high school, and then I'll be an empty nester, and that's when I'm going to make the move, right? So we get those leads way in advance, because let's say someone says, okay, as soon as my kids are done, I'm moving out of state. Well, they start looking in the state in which they want to buy, and they go to Zillow, they go to realtor.com, they go to these websites, or just do a Google search for, hey, homes for sale and yada yada, and you get that lead 2 years in advance. What are you going to do in the meantime? Because if you call them and say, hey, do you want to buy a house? You want to buy a house? You want to buy a house here? They're gonna be like, no, shut up. Like, you're bugging me. But if you say, hey, here's what you can find in this area for this price range, or hey, let me see, I know that you're 2 years out, but what are you looking for? And let me set you up a search that's more specific to you, deliver value, and stay top of mind. Put a drip and say, okay, in 3 months, follow up with this individual to see if their plans have changed, or maybe they've escalated, and then you can connect with them that way. So Brandi, for you, like, I would imagine that people are moving out to, the Coachella Valley, they're looking to retire there, but potentially, yep. Or I don't know who the demographics are of who's buying there, but talk to me more about, like, how are you playing the long game? Because I think there's a lot of money that's missed in opportunity that way.
Yeah, most definitely. I think that if you're ever going to start the online leads, you have to have a CRM place. just like you said, the older leads are actually better leads. Like right now we're out showing a 2-year-old lead, $2 million properties. So, and then another thing that you had mentioned is that when you call and they say no thanks, that is gold to my ears. So we actually have upon leads in our CRM system where everyone can log in. And I tell everyone, do not move that lead until you physically meet with that person. So if you call, say, hey, Sally, this is Brandi Pratt with the Pratt Group, and she's hauling the kids. And I'll tell you right now, if I'm hauling my 3 kids, I'm like probably screaming at one's, wanting the dog. So I caught her at the bad time, right? So I tell my team the next day, follow up with Sally. You may have caught Sally at a bad time. So it's really important to keep calling these people because you may catch people at a bad time and they may say no thanks, but tomorrow may be a better day and they're going to answer that question for you. So I highly recommend having a CRM system. Never think an old lead or a lead that unsubscribes is a bad lead. The second they unsubscribe, I actually move them to Follow Up Boss and MailChimp. People tell me I actually stalk them like a bad ex-husband. So I literally do. You have to never look at a lead like it's a bad lead. If they don't ever move it to trash, move it to some other CRM system that's going to follow them as well, or send them value. So, and the reason I'm going to send them to MailChimp is MailChimp, we're going to send events out for the Coachella Valley. And then also we're going to be sending out market updates. So that's going to be that. And then on Follow Up Boss, it's going to be a completely different script than Boomtown was. So obviously in Boomtown, we were touching them too much and that's why they got mad, unsubscribed. So then I'm going to move them out and I'm going to move them somewhere else. If we have a good email, don't do that. I'll never forget about 6 months ago, I had a listing. I'm standing there. The lady comes in and says, I want to buy the house. I said, okay, great. I don't even know you. She goes, I know you. I said, okay, wonderful. She goes, you have actually been sending me emails for 2 years, but you didn't respond to my email. So this is my agent and I'm going to buy the house. So knowing the fact that that lady is in my CRM system and I just lost out on an opportunity of her buying my listing even hurt more. But now I'm looking at it like, okay, I screwed up. That was my fault. So now I'm going to move that to a seller lead. I'm going to look at it as an opportunity in 1 year to 2 years to relist that home. So I'm going to move them to MailChimp and I'm going to send them market updates and I'm going to be back in her face and then follow up with that phone call. So never look at a lead like it's a bad lead. We've closed old leads. Old leads are actually sometimes better than brand new leads because sometimes they inquire and they're like, we didn't inquire. You absolutely did. But if you catch them 6 months down the road, then that's your opportunity. So it's really important never to look at a lead like it's a bad lead, unless obviously it's a horrible phone number, horrible email, then trash it, but never trash a lead until they tell you to stop. And then when they tell you to stop, move it to another CRM system.
Out of a couple just quick stories I want to tell. One is I'm in the market to buy a Bronco, right? I like the new Broncos. I want to buy one. And I'm looking for one and I don't want to pay over MSRP. And so I'm looking for dealerships that have that. And it's remarkable when I go and I make an inquiry, it pisses me off because like they'll say, here's a Bronco that we have. I'm like, well, what's the price? They're like, well, click on this button to get an instant price on the vehicle. You click a button, it pulls down where they want your information. I put my information in. I think I'm gonna get the instant price. I don't. I get a freaking phone call. I'm like, I don't want your damn phone call. I just want the freaking price of the vehicle. And then I'll freaking call you if I want it, right? But that person knows that I want to buy a damn car. Mm-hmm. And they reach out to me a couple times and I don't answer. And then that's it. Like communication lost. A sale lost, opportunity-wise. And then another story that I have, it's really sad. It's still painful because it's happening as we speak. I have a past client of mine that lives like a couple blocks away. And another home in my community popped up and it was listed for $4.5 million. And this friend of mine who's worth easily $80 to $100 million, I see him and he goes, hey, Nazar, what do you think about that house that's on yada yada street? And I was like, oh, and then I virtually vomited to him all the things I thought about the home. Oh, it's this and that, it's got all these things, yada yada. And he goes, okay, cool. And that's all he said. And then that's all I said. And that was it. A month later, he approaches me again and says, "Hey, Nazar, remember that house? Like, what do you think about the home?" I said, "Oh, well, it went from $4.5 million to $3.8 million. It's, so I was like giving all these rattle facts, like, oh, like I'm really smart and I know what I'm talking about." And he goes, "Yeah, like that's cool." And we keep on talking about this. And then he proceeds to tell me, because I said, "I've actually never been inside the home since it's been finished, but," and he goes, "Oh, I've already been inside the home." I'm like, "You have?" He goes, "Yeah, I've actually been in it twice." I said, "Oh, okay, really?" And he goes, "Well, actually, I have an offer on it right now." I said, "What?" I said, "With who?" He goes, "Well, the listing agent." I was like, "You went to the listing agent?" He goes, "Yeah, like I wanted to get a better deal, and we've been talking, and now he's in escrow on this freaking $4.5 million house." And like, I am so freaking pissed. Like, and I have to like have this guy be my neighbor now, so it pisses me off even more. But here's the lesson I learned. It is not my client's responsibility to follow up with me. It is not. They have no obligation to work with me.
Mhm.
They don't. And so I can be pissed off all the way to the bank, but guess what? It's not their duty, it's mine, right? I knew this little mofo that was worth $1 kajillion wanted to buy a home in my neighborhood. I knew that. And I knew that that property hit the market, but why didn't I say, "Hey, so-and-so, this home just hit the market, let's go take a look at it"? It's my bad, right? Or he could have also said, "Hey, I'm gonna buy this house when this happens." When I was very new in the industry, the internet was new. I'm just kidding. The internet was there, but like there was no such thing as CRM systems. And so we'd go door knocking and get a prospective lead. Like this one person said, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna sell my house in 6 months. Follow up with me then." I said, "Awesome." I got myself a little Post-it note. I wrote on there their name, like, "Oh, this guy's gonna be moving in 6 months." So it's basically a post-dated listing that I'm gonna take. And then I put this on my desk, and it sat there for 5 months, and then 6 months, and then 6 months and a day later, I go on the MLS and I see the house is on the market. I'm like, "No, that was my listing." Well, guess what? I effed up. I didn't follow up with them. I completely forgot. But now, you guys, we have Follow Up Us. We have online systems to be able to track leads and to set reminders for us so we don't forget. Don't be like me and mess up on millions of dollars of opportunity because you failed to follow up. And that's literally, that's the king, right? Online lead comes in, we get super, super excited about the shiny new penny, but we failed all those opportunities that are there just nurturing and waiting for us to be able to say, "Yeah, I'm ready to buy." Sorry, Brandi.
I did have a question for Brandi. So you have a team of 5. You mentioned that you get over 100 leads a month and you guys close over 100 deals a year. How do you limit how many leads each agent gets on your team? Or do you have like, you can only have 20, 30 leads in your CRM and that's what you're managing? Or how do you do that?
I actually don't limit. We're on a rotator dialer, so everything as it comes in goes out. So I don't actually even, if it's like a $500,000 home or a $5 million home, I don't dictate that. We just rotate dialer. If the lead is getting super cold, I ask them to move everything into the pond is what I'm asking them to do. So that pond leads is for everyone. If they tell me they have nothing to do, here's, 5,000 leads, jump in there and start calling the pond leads.
And do you have an ISA managing that pond lead or like following up with those clients and setting them up in MailChimp and all that? Or what's your plan there?
We do now. We didn't. And because of the last 2 years, it was just so crazy busy. I'm going to tell you a lot of our systems kind of went by wayside. But now we do have an ISA that's helping us out. And then also we are just any of the agents that are jumping in there doing the leads, we're moving them, sending it to our assistants and getting them uploaded into there. So I always ask them to move it over to both of my assistants and then have them uploaded into the MailChimp and Follow Up Boss.
And then on MailChimp, what exactly are you sending them? I know you mentioned market updates, event invites, all that stuff, but how many touch points, I guess, are you giving out a month per lead?
2, at least 2 in MailChimp. So we're doing the events around the Coachella Valley, letting them know what's up and coming, what's going to be happening. We get a lot of response from that because we're such a second home destination that we are getting people that are only coming in for the weekend. They're like, "Hey, thank you so much. I actually didn't know what was going on in the Coachella Valley. So this is great information. Now we know what to do over the weekend." And then, like I said, the market update is going to be at 2 weeks after that. So we're making sure and touching them every 2 weeks.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah. Anyone else?
Any other questions? I think I had one that was texted to me. Hold on one second. Tessa wanted to know how you stay in touch with those past clients. Are you using MailChimp as well, loading them into MailChimp and pretty much sending the same information?
Yeah, MailChimp, sending the same information, and then obvious, like, you know, at the beginning of, or not the beginning of the year, or yeah, beginning of the year, sending them their closing statements, to the ones of the year prior. And then another one, Jessica's really good at this on my team, is she'll have a to-do in Boomtown and be sending them home anniversary cookies or flowers, whatever it may be. So that's a great touch as well. So past clients, we're starting up. I recently have become the exclusive arena partner for the Acrisure Arena, the Firebirds out here in the Coachella Valley. So we're going to be doing hockey events where I'm renting out the ice rink, and we're going to be taking past clients over there, giving them tours of the arena, and then also being able to ice skate too. So that's going to be one of our touch points too.
Very cool. That's awesome. You guys, any other questions? We'll let Brandi jump off. I know she's got a super hectic, crazy week this week.
Yeah, it hasn't been fun. Yeah,
You did amazing. I appreciate the plug because does somebody have a question? Nope. Anyways, I appreciate the plug because I am like the CRM person. Use your CRMs. There are no bad leads. Follow up. Make sure you have a procedure for that follow up, and check your ponds so you don't have somebody show up to your open house to buy the house that you never responded to their email.
yeah, the pond leads are the biggest thing. That is really good because, like I said, not everyone is going to like you, so they may like someone else. Hand it off. Don't be afraid to hand it off because, again, I'm not everyone's cup of tea. Trust me.
Awesome. Well, thank you. You're our cup of tea, Brandi. We appreciate it so much, you guys. Everybody, next week we have, well, I'm just going to leave it as a surprise. You'll see in your emails a little bit later today who we have for next week. Have a fabulous week. If you guys need anything from us, please reach out and we'll see you all later.
Yeah.
Thanks, Brandi.
Thank you.